Hey fellas, so I'm sorting through Revised right now. Revised is where it all began for me. That was the current base set when I started playing. And so I missed out on things like Black Lotus and the original Moxes and Time Walk and Time Twister and Time Pancakes and whatever else they wanted to throw after the word time, you know? And I mean, by modern standards, Revised was a really bad set. It really was. But oh well. There's a lot of weird stuff in it. I mean, let's be perfectly honest. The first few base sets really weren't. I mean, the only thing exciting about them was the fact that they were first. You know, in retrospect, there's a lot of things not to be excited about. There are, however, a few other things that are really interesting, even if they're not worth a whole hell of a lot anymore, you know? Let's quickly breeze over some of the less exciting stuff. Righteousness, it's been reprinted a bunch of times. It's single white. Target blocking creature gets +7/+7. It's in flavor for white. White's a very defensive color traditionally. Pearl Unicorn, it's a 2/2 for 2 colors and a white. Samite Healer, colors and a white for a 1/1 tap to prevent 1 damage target creature. And we have these two. Yeah, you can also see that the art's come a long way since these days as well. I mean, when you just have like a relatively plain looking person on a almost blank background, it's like that's not an exciting illustration. But whatever. That's Banal Shiro. It's a 1/1 for a single white with banding. And Mega Pegasus is a color and a white for a 1/1 flying banding. Oh, banding is quite possibly the one rule in the game that caused the most rules questions over the years. Probably the only one that came close was phasing. Ooh. That's because they kept changing like how phasing worked. Every time you turned around, it's like, wait, how does phasing work this week? I don't remember. But yeah. If you're wondering about this stack right here, this stack is all excess stuff. Anything that I had more than 4 copies of, I put excess copies here, preferably ones in the worst shape. The only thing of note in there is I've got an extra resurrection. Ooh. It's always nice to have extra resurrections, right? Anyways, the banding worked a little bit differently in attack and in defense. When you attacked or blocked, you could declare creatures in a band. An attacking band could contain any number of banding creatures and up to 1 non-banding creature. A blocking band only has to have 1 banding creature in it. A blocking band has to block the same creature or the same enemy band. An attacking band if you can block any one creature in an attacking band, you've blocked all of them. Here's the fun thing though, and that's the controller of the band got to assign the damage dealt to the band. Today I think that would just be assigning the damage priorities, but the interesting thing was back then you didn't really have damage priority, you just assigned the damage. So for example, if you had a pair of 2/2s banded together, and your opponent could block them with a 2/2 creature themselves, deal 1 damage to each, and then if they had a way to deal 1 damage to all creatures in play, bam, they could take both creatures in the band out. The ability to distribute damage in the band only applied to combat damage. The thing is, of course, is you could take the band gets blocked. I know, you assign the damage for the band on your opponent's creatures. Okay, maybe you kill 1 or 2, whatever. You get to assign all the damage the band takes. So if the band takes, say, 2 damage, you can throw it onto a 3/3 creature and the world is happy and good. Or at least your world, you know? Banding had some interesting things going on with it. It was really funky, but very few people really learned the rules for it because at the time they were considered really complicated. Now, moving on to other unexciting stuff. Holy Strength, we've all seen it before. Enchanted creature gets +1/+2. Holy Armor, enchanted creature gets +0/+2, and then you can also inflate that creature's toughness on a 1/1 ratio with white mana. Death Ward, regenerate target creature. These days that would be in green. Disenchant, these days that is in green. It's naturalized. What other wacky stuff do we have? Lance, it's an enchantment that, it's an aura that gives enchanted creature first strike. Whoop-de-dee. Guardian Angel is a weird one. It's an instant that has an effect that has a damage prevention effect that you can keep adding to. Basically, it's X white, instant prevent X damage from being dealt to one target, creature or player. Any further damage to that same target this turn can be prevented by spending an additional 1 mana for each point of damage. That's wacky. It's like it's almost like it's an instant that sorta, kinda, almost acts like an enchantment. It's weird. But at the time, you just rolled with it. You really did. It's Castle, it's an enchantment that gives all of your untapped creatures +0/+2. Healing Salve, prevent up to 3 damage target creature or gain 3 life. What else we got here? Enemy Wall, it's an aura. Enchanted Wall may attack as though it weren't a wall. Back then, walls still had rules baggage and would for many years afterwards. The Circle of Protection cycle, all keyed to a specific color. You pay 1 mana, prevent all damage dealt to you by one source of that color. The Ward cycle, all color specific. Enchanted creature gains protection from color listed on it. The fun thing on that, of course, is White Ward at the time did not yet have the text that says the protection granted by it does not destroy it. So technically, back in the day, you could cast White Ward with a card that you'd play it and it would destroy itself immediately. Ain't that fun? What else we got? A little bit more in the color hosing department. We've got Conversion, which is 2 colors and double white for an enchantment, upkeep of double white. All mountains are plains. Yeah, that can screw people up. And Karma, 2 colors double white. During each player's upkeep, Karma deals to that player damage equal to the number of swamps they control. Okay, so fun stuff. Northern Paladin, kind of a color hosing card. He's funky. He's 2 colors and double white for a 3/3 double white and tap to destroy target black card. What else we got here? Blessing was an interesting one. Double white. It's another aura. Doesn't actually you can pump white mana to give the enchanted creature +1/+1 till end of turn. That's really funky, actually. That was one of the better creature enchantments in white at the time. Yeah, we didn't have pacifism yet, guys. Pacifism did not come about until, if I recall correctly, Mirage. Yeah, think about that one, guys. Mirage. Which was, oh geez, let me think. How many years later was Mirage? Let me think. This is revised. It came out in 1993. It was also interesting because it was the first base set that was different from the previous base. Well, not quite, sort of. Alpha, the first base set had a bunch of misprintings in it. and 2 cards were accidentally left out. Beta was designed to correct Alpha by correcting a bunch of the misprints, and they threw in the 2 missing cards, which were Tropical Island, one with dual lands, and Circle of Protection Black. Yeah, there's no such thing as an Alpha COP Black. But I mean, this was what we had back in the day, guys. You might say this was state of the art at the time, which is scary, ain't it? So yeah. On the other hand, this was also the first base set that had things rotate into it from other sets, predominantly from Antiquities and, I believe, Arabian Nights. Yeah. What else do we have here? Let's get to some of the more fun stuff. Resurrection, 2 double white sorcery, creature from your graveyard directly onto the field. Yeah. Whitehead graveyard recursion from the very start, guys. From the very start. Wall of Swords, a 3/5 flying wall for 3 and a white. It's okay. It's a good defensive card. This is a card you got really excited about when you pulled it out of a booster pack, because when you found out it was a rare, you crapped yourself and threw a tantrum because it's a horrible card. The Cycle of Laces were just horrible, horrible cards. It's 1 mana for an interrupt. Oh, don't get me even started on the interrupt type. I'll explain that later. Though I think a lot of you probably already know what an interrupt is. It's sort of basically it's an instant that says when it goes on the stack, nothing can be played except for more interrupts. Yeah, most of the interrupts were counter spells, so you could have a little counter spell war. That, and of course you didn't have the stack. You sort of had the stack, but the stack resolved in batches. That is, once everyone agreed that they didn't want to add anything else to the stack, everything currently on the stack resolved in order. So that was kind of wonky. What else we got here? Crusade. Crusade's a classic in white mini decks. Double white, all white creatures get +1/+1. Great card. White Knight, still seeing print these days. 2/2 first strike, pro black for white. Reverse Polarity. White, instant, all damage done to you this turn by artifacts is retroactively added to your life total instead of subtracted. Further damage this turn is treated normal. So yeah, that was an interesting one. What else we got around? I'm pretty sure there's a couple cards. Black, yeah, that's Reverse Polarity. I want to say that was brought in from Antiquities. I want to say Reverse Damage was... Not reverse. Yeah, Reverse Damage, I believe, was in Revised, if I recall correctly, but I don't have any revised copies of it. Oh well. I've got a revised Armageddon. 3 and a white for a sorcery that destroys all lands in play. That was actually a very valuable card back in the day, believe it or not. Once you got into an advantageous board position, you just Geddoned, and hey, guess what? Your opponent's got no ability to put more front stuff out. Geddon also was really nasty if you had access to Moxes and such. I blow up all the lands, I've still got mana available through Moxes and whatnot. You've got nothing. Where do we go? Balance. As I seem to recall it being described once, part Wrath of God, part Wrath of God, part Mind Twist, and part Armageddon. Basically, it's a colorless and a white, it's a sorcery. Everyone sacrifices down until they have the same number of creatures as the person with the fewest. The person with the fewest doesn't get to sacrifice. Then you repeat this with lands, and then you repeat it with discarding cards in hand. Yeah! So if there's one person who was completely screwed and somebody played balance, everybody was screwed. To this day, I still run balance in decks with few to no creatures, basically as a 2-mana Wrath of God. Everything else on it is gravy. Sometimes it kicks me in the teeth too. It happens. What other fun stuff do I have here? Personal Incarnation. Believe it or not, this used to be a sought-after card. It's 3 and double white for 6/6, and you can choose to redirect any damage dealt to it to yourself. And when it goes to the graveyard, you lose half your life total. Rounded up. Yeah, so technically it could, if you were at 1 life, losing the Personal Incarnation could kill you. But, you know, it was an interesting card. It was sought after because it was a really big card in white. 6/6 is hard to find in white. The next biggest creature in white at the time was Sarah Angel. You know her, you'll love her. This is the classic prom dress illustration Sarah. Another thing is, of course, these are all, since they're all revised, we've got, especially this one right here, you can, even now, look, you can't really read the text on this very well, it's all blurry and such. So as much as that, the image on the camera is blurry and whatnot, yeah, look guys, you can see how white the back of that card's gotten. That Sarah's seen a lot of use. A lot. But Sarah Angel was a power card back in the day. She was only an uncommon. People treated her as if she was a rare, because she was just that good. Yeah, she was a beat stick. What else do I have here? Covered you guys and all this jank and that jank and oh yeah, little card called Swords to Plowshares. I got 3 revised copies here. I've got a bunch of Swords to Plowshares now. I'm looking around, I'm like, geez, I didn't know I had this many. Go fig, right? A single white instant, exile target creature. That creature's controller gains life equal to its power. That was a pretty strong removal card back in the day. In fact, it was stronger than most of us thought it was, because we didn't like the idea of our opponent gaining a life. Yeah, you know, a lot of people didn't understand back then that it was more important to remove your opponent's threats and defenses than his actual life total was important. But yeah, to this day, it's known as one of the, quite possibly the best creature removal card in white. The next best so far is considered, I believe it was Path to Exile, which unfortunately I don't own any of, but maybe I should trade for something, I don't know. But yeah, Swords to Plowshares was a boss removal card. It really was. What you also don't see amongst my collection of white and revised is Wrath of God. Wrath of God was a boss card back in the day, just as it has been for years upon years upon years. And even to this day, its slightly depowered slightly depowered descendant, Day of Judgment, is still really strong. I can understand why they got rid of Wrath of God, to try and like remove anything that might be considered a real world religious reference. Which is kind of funny because they keep demons and devils and whatnot in it. But of course, on the other hand, demons and devils are as much in folklore of just about every culture on Earth as they are in Christian spiritual belief systems, or Judeo-Christian, or Abrahamic. Oh, yeah, you can get all sorts of funky with that. I'm not even going to touch the religion business with a stick right now. I'm just not. Another thing I found while going through here is these are unlimited. A pair of unlimited Black Wards. They got stuffed in here with all the revised because I was just going through things too quick. But yeah, when I started sorting through it, I'm like, hey, wait, those are unlimited. Yeah. So just doing white today because I was in a bit of a rush. Didn't want to take the time to sort through all these different colors and put stuff aside. Blah 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 blah. I think I'll save that for tomorrow. But yeah, this is where it began for me, guys. This is where it began. All right, have a good night, fellas. Be safe.